Whether you're looking to create a natural privacy fence or block out an ugly eyesore. The Thuja Green Giant Arborvitaes are a fantastic choice for this, but there are three things that I've learned over decades of using these trees as privacy fences that you will want to factor into your planning before you put a single tree in the ground. The biggest benefit of these trees is year-round privacy because they are evergreen. But in order to get to the size that you want them to grow to, you have to give them the right conditions, which is our first point. You have to have the right amount of sun exposure. It sounds basic, right? But if you have a partly shady situation versus a fully sunny situation, you're going to see a difference, and I'll physically show you how. This line of trees was planted 4 years ago, and when I put them in place, they were all 3 feet tall. Now, they've grown pretty significantly. Over at the far end here, I'm at a good 12 feet. But if you come down to this side, my shortest tree is about 8 feet. Now, in 4 years, it's doubled in size, which is awesome. But it could be 12 if it had enough sun exposure. Now I get probably about 5 to 6 hours, and 6 is going to be the minimum of what you want to see for your trees throughout the course of every single day in order for them to grow to their full potential. So you want to keep this in mind as you're planning where you're going to put your trees. Second is going to be your soil and the drainage of that soil. Now these trees do prefer things a little bit more on the acidic side, and I'll get into a little bit more of that in the planting video. Stay tuned for the link to that at the tail end of this one. But when you look at drainage, you need a location where the water is not going to pool, because if you have water that will not go down into the ground, you will experience root rot. Now root rot is going to be one of the bigger challenges that you're going to run into with these trees if you're not careful. So you want a nice sloped area if at all humanly possible, and you also want to do a little bit of a test. You can wait until it rains really hard. You can dig a 1 foot deep hole and pour water into it and make sure that the water level goes down. It doesn't have to go down super fast, but that it goes down at a decent rate and doesn't just sit there. Because if that water does sit there, you are going to rot out your roots, and these trees are not going to grow the way that you want them to. But the bigger question that people always ask, and the one that you do need to think about very carefully, is how far apart are you going to space your trees, and in what pattern are you going to plant them? Now, this group of trees that I planted, I did in a staggered pattern. They are planted 6 feet apart from each other, and they are planted 4 feet deep from each other. So I have them in a staggered pattern in order to get a really nice thick privacy fence. Now I did this for 2 reasons. 1, I didn't want people to see what's behind these trees. And 2, these trees can actually act as a sound barrier. So standing still here, can you hear the waterfall behind it? Now I can hear it because I'm really close. I don't know if my mic is picking that up, but walk with me. Let's go. When I planted these trees, I was trying to hide something. Oh my gosh, it's thick in here. Oh my gosh. And it was this. We put this pond in place for my mother-in-law, and it is a really nice feature to have, but the waterfall is way louder over here than it is over here. So you will get that sound barrier action if you do plant in this pattern. You can also plant your trees in a straight line like I did here 5 years ago. Now I planted these trees, they were smaller than the front trees. These were all about 2 feet in height, so a little bit shorter, and they've grown at a similar rate. Now these trees were all spaced 6 feet apart, and the recommendations from all of the arborists and certified gardeners say anywhere between 5 and 8 is an ideal spacing so that you can give them the chance to grow to their full potential. Now these trees can get incredibly high. They can also get 8 to 10 feet wide. So this one for us was to block the neighbors behind us over time, and I wanted to allow the trees to grow a little bit bigger in order to get to their more full potential. But they don't have to be that far apart. The line of trees that I'm about to plant will be planted approximately 3 feet apart. And the reason I'm doing that is I want it to be a little bit tighter and a little bit more dense, kind of like a hedgerow, but not super close to one another, because I have seen some issues with them when they're planted too close. They don't get enough water. One in the middle will brown out. You just want to be careful with that and make sure that you're handling watering as well, which I'll also talk about. But my point here is that the pattern is really up to you based on your goals with the trees and how dense you want it to be, and whether or not you want to block sound, block a little bit more wind, or just have it look like a straight line versus a staggered line. There is an easy formula that you can use in order to determine how many trees you're going to need. Start at the end where you believe you're going to put your first tree, and then go out to the far end of the line that you're creating and put a marker on the ground there so that you have an understanding of where your last tree may be. Then take your measuring tape and measure between the two. So as an example, if you have a 50-foot tree line that you're planning to do, and you want to do your trees at about a 5-foot spacing apart from each other, you're going to need 10 trees. If you're going to use that same 50-foot tree line with a 3-foot spacing, then you're going to need 16 and a half trees. And since you can't have a half a tree, you're going to have to go up. Always round up and have an extra tree. Worst case scenario, you don't have as big of a spacing on that last one. If you do have a little bit of a limit to where you can go with it, you can also just scrunch in your spacing for all the others slightly in order to accommodate for it. But it's always better to go with that one extra than going one under. So the formula is the total length of the privacy fence divided by your spacing, and that gives you the number of trees that you're going to need. And now that you know where your trees are going to go and how far apart and in what pattern, how do you plant these babies? For more information on that, click or tap on this video. And until the next time, keep doing it yourself.